Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'd like to start with a little bit of Simran. You can't go wrong with that.
It's been an honour to come and talk with you today. It's my second visit to Bradford. Spoke at Sikh Gurdwara a couple of weeks ago. So what I'd like to do is to read the Mo mantra, and then I'll get started and go through some slides. There are quite a few slides, but they're pictures really to go through. not lots and lots of notes. Okay, so I hope you'll bear with me. So I'm just going to use good old YouTube to play some sitar music, and we'll go through the law mantra and recite it. Hope this works, fingers crossed. It was quite loud last time, so maybe not. Ekongkar Satnam Kartapura Nirbhav Nirvay Akal Murti Ajuni Sarvam Gurdwara Jap Sach Chikal Sach Eti Sach Nanak Sikhi Sach Ekongkar Satnam Katha Nirbhav Nirvay Akal Murti Ajuni Sarvam Gurdwara Jap Sach Chikal Sach Eti Sach Nanak Sikhi Sach. God is only one. His name is true. He is creator. He is without fear. He is inimical or harmful to none. He never dies. He is beyond births and deaths. He is self-illuminated. He is realized by the kindness of the true Guru. He is true in the beginning. He was true when the ages commenced and has ever been true. He is also true now. He is also true now. So as I was saying, I'd like to thank you for inviting me today, and I've come to explore and talk to you about why I chose the Sikh path, and I will explain what drew me to it and what appealed to me. I must apologise if anything I say causes any offence in any way. I speak from experience and from what I have found. I feel that Sikh youth need to be challenged in some areas, not least on the sensitive issue of the caste system, which sadly still exists among the British Punjabi community of the diasporas. But I must say that I am not a scholar of Gurdwara. I am a university student, a Sikh student, a human being. I have observed Sikhi, and now I hope I live it, or at least have just begun to live it. This is me, Giaanroop Singh. Ironically, I was born in 1984, and I didn't know the significance of that until about 5 years ago, and I couldn't believe it that was the year I was born. The next slide, please. Okay, we've done that enough. Okay, so we've got the more mantra, which we've just done. Forgot to mention that. Okay, if you carry on. Yes. This is a quote from the Bible, and there's a very salient reason why I'm mentioning this. If you just read it, "For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." Now, before you worry and think I'm going to try and convert you to Christianity, I'm not. That was something I would have done in the past life. This is a quote from the Bible, from the book of Ruth. The story is about a conversion about someone who chooses to join a group of people in their religion. And Ruth converts to another religion so that she can live with and take care of her widowed mother-in-law for the rest of her life. Essentially, though, I'm mentioning it because it discusses the issue of conversion and the fact that you're joining a peoplehood and a group. I use this text because this is how I feel. Like a deer that pants for water, in the desert, maybe, looking in many directions and exhausted, tired and suffering, I finally found water and I drank it. The Anand Sahib says, your thirst will not be quenched by any method until you get God's nectar. When you drink God's nectar, the thirst will never trouble you again. This God's nectar is obtained by one who, due to his pious previous acts, meets the Guru. This is what I did just over a year ago. I took Amrit. A little about me. I was born in 1984. My birth name was Barry. I was born in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. My parents are divorced now, and life has had many unsettling times, including moving house on many occasions. Life has led me into paths of depression, feelings of inadequacy, but conversely there have been times when I've been arrogant and too proud. Throughout all this, however, I have always tried to seek God where he can be found. I use he with some reservation, because it's just one translation, isn't it? As a child, I attended church, this church. I loved the musical tradition of the church, and in a way the church became a sort of mother to me. I went to different kinds of church and kept searching and singing. Just hold it there for the slides for it. In 2002, I went to the University of Aberdeen, where I had many problems, including depression. I was not old enough to be 400 miles away from home in northeast Scotland, only aged 18. But this time I met Catholic priests, Catholic friars called monks, who influenced my spiritual quest. I prayed with them and spent time doing meditation. But I came home from my first year of university study, having failed, and began working in a local care home. When I eventually left home and moved into an urban area, I was fascinated by all the culture around me. And on the bus I passed a Sikh Gurdwara, a Hindu mandir, and a mosque, all of which I have visited, out of academic interest, yes, but also in search of God. In the main, they were educational visits to satisfy my curiosity and interest in comparative religion. But the Gurdwara had something special about it. I had a longing to go in and look behind the front door. The calling of Maharaj came to me, and its darshan drew me. I had always been interested in going to church. Sorry, this is the first Gurdwara I went to, Ramgari Gurdwara in Wolverhampton. A very small Gurdwara, it's like a house converted into Gurdwara. I'd always been interested in going to church and studying the Bible. I was a practicing Christian from an early age. Sadly, however, my parents had little interest in religion, so I didn't really have any religious foundation. But this is how my quest began. And in 2003, I attended a Gurdwara for the second time. The first was on a school visit. We just go back a bit to that slide. Sorry about this. As I recall, I went to the Gurdwara on a school visit and I asked for Kara Prasad. And the Sangha was surprised and impressed that I even knew what Kara Prasad was. I went to the Ramgari Gurdwara in Wolverhampton in 2003. When I went into the Gurdwara, I was very nervous. I went into the hallway of the temple, a converted house. I was asked to remove my shoes and cover my head. I asked if I was allowed upstairs into the divine area. I wondered if I even needed an appointment. The second time I went, I passed a bedroom where a man with a long beard and hair was lying down, his case out or flowing, and he smiled at me. On going into the Gurdwara, a kindly old man came up to me and gave me a piece of fruit and lolly. And I said, "Oh, it's you, the man who's lying on this bed." He looked so different in his turban and bana, completely different. He explained the essential doctrine of Sikhi, that God is only one, and he gave me prasad. I sat down and he said to me, "Study Guru Granth Sahib, and you will be blessed."
He didn't tell me to become a Sikh. He just told me if I study Sikhi, I will be blessed. Sitting in the Gurdwara hall felt so peaceful, but I was always a little on edge. Lots of elderly old ladies watched me curiously. Every time I stood up, they looked around, and I was worried I'd done something wrong. I never found an opening, though, or a place where I could really learn about Sikhism and its depth. So I asked a few aunties at an Indian charity shop to show me how to tie a turban, which they thought was great fun. I wore it a few times, but I hadn't got the confidence to wear it all the time and ignored strange looks from the public. At this stage, I didn't tell my parents. I began wearing a bandana to work and a kirpan. I didn't understand why, it just felt right. But I really didn't understand Sikhism that well, and if you'd have asked me at the time exactly what the kirpan was symbolic of, I don't think I'd been able to explain. So in the end I took it off because I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I just knew that somehow Sikhism had a relationship with me, and I had a relationship with it. Anyway, I went to learn more, and I eventually found DTF Bookshop, Soho Road, Birmingham. I met a lovely lady, and I purchased the Nitnam. On reading the first page of the Japji Sahib, it was like I had found gold. It was beautiful, enlightening, and universal. I began reading parts of it in the morning, sitting at the table in the miserable bedsit that I had, and the words brought me some comfort. But the bedsit wasn't a good spiritual environment, as the girl upstairs was smoking cannabis, and other things were going on. Leave that to your imagination. So, that wasn't the best place. Maybe that's why I didn't actually encounter Sikhi in its depth then. It was just early days. Because of my Christian background, I felt like I was committing idolatry by doing matatik to the Guru Granth Sahib. And I gave my nickname to someone. I think I gave it to a solicitor. He uses it now, people when they swear oaths. However, I kept the kirpan, which I now wear. It was in the drawer at my grandmother's house for many years, gathering dust. I thought I would give it to a granthi as it wasn't part of my original culture. But no, I thought it's special, I want to keep it. Something resounded internally, a small, quiet voice in my mind. So I searched for approximately 8 years, including living in a Benedictine monastery and practicing Judaism. Never converting, but exploring it. I think I've got some pictures here of my journey. Okay. I'll go into that in a minute. I was assaulted by a group of Asian lads for wearing a Jewish skull cap, and felt that becoming Jewish would be too hard. At this point I began to attend the Gurdwara again on a regular basis. It was peaceful and allowed the stress to fall off me. But again there were lots of long stares, people looked, but I wanted to know more. I might get the chance to have a 10-minute talk with a granthi with broken English, but more complex questions couldn't be answered. So when I went back to university, at the University of Wolverhampton, I met the chaplain and I said, "Is there a Sikh society? I want to go to the Sikh society if there is one." And bingo! There I met many young people with good English, and they pointed me in the right direction. And suddenly, they explained everything, and I had access to all the information I needed and wanted, and I learned more. And they told me about websites like SeekNet and things like that. I had recently moved to Bearwood in Birmingham, and I wanted to find a Gurdwara to attend. Wherever I lived, whatever way of life I was practicing, I wanted to go to a Gurdwara. So I went to a couple of big Gurdwara in Soho Road in Birmingham, and I met the Babaji there, and I went to the Smedley High Street Gurdwara. But I wanted somewhere on my doorstep, and I found it. On my second day living in Bearwood, I was lost, and I had missed the stop, and was about half a mile from my house, but it felt like a lot longer than that, a lot further than that. I walked up and down, and I was lost. But what should I see on my journey but a Gurdwara that used to be a Methodist church? Of all things, it could be a church, which is my background. It's got kundas on it, which you might be able to see, I don't know. I went back the next day. I went there one evening and I sat at the back, and the teacher gave a sermon in Punjabi. This lasted 45 minutes and I didn't understand a word. I was beginning to get disheartened as I couldn't understand what he was saying. But suddenly his loud, hypnotic voice, which is always gentle, said, "You at the back there, you have been listening very patiently. You have been listening to me speak another language." And then he went on to explain a little bit about Sikhi. Again, he didn't say I should become a Sikh. He explained, God is only one, there are many paths to God, This is what Sikhs believe. He then gave me a talk about Sikhism. This is the Divine Hall that I'm referring to, where I met this person. He talked about the main teachings of Sikhi, and I had found Bhai Singh, an assistant grantee who became my teacher. I asked him what I should do to become a Sikh. He invited me to Punjabi classes, and I did so. At that point, I didn't know that he would preside at the Panch Pyare at the ceremony where I took Amrit. At the university, the Sikh society had afternoons of Simran, and I met some wonderful people, including Kulwant Singh, who is a good friend of mine and also a Sikh artist. I first met him when he gave a few talks on spiritual matters at uni, and one day I simply said, "I'm not taking the mickey. Please, can someone at Sikh Song teach me to tie a turban?" And there is a picture of that. Yeah. And the answer was yes. I didn't even have to buy one, I was given one. I think it was this one actually. They gave me some material and I learned a simple round turban style. And apparently this style, folks, is called the I'm late for work turban. Because it's very quick and probably the simplest one you can do. I said I'd wear it once a week and get used to it to see if I wanted to be a Sikh that badly, especially if I had been assaulted wearing a Jewish skull cap. Well, a few weeks later, I said I don't care anymore. I will wear this turban if I want to. I started wearing it all the time in my free time, and then I started to wear it all the time for work. About 2 months later, I asked to take Amrit, and the Mahant at the Nanak Gurdwara gave me talks and advice. He checked I was wearing 4 Ks. I mainly only wore a kirpan at home to get used to it before taking Amrit, and that was his advice. I don't normally make decisions that easily in life. I find it hard to decide on many things, but I confidently asked to take Amrit, and I could not believe it was going to happen, but I desired it to happen, and it did happen. So on the 17th of March 2011 at midday, I took Amrit at Nanak Gurdwara. I'm just going to describe what it was like the night before. The night before taking Amrit was very special. I knew that I wouldn't sleep well that night before. I was excited and I couldn't wait. So I asked the grantee if I could stay in the guest quarters that night like I did last night when I stayed here. I went upstairs into a makeshift sleeping area. There were no beds, thin mattresses about that thick like you get maybe in India in the Gurdwara. I went upstairs into a makeshift sleeping area and I slept on the floor on these mattresses. I wasn't accustomed to this new surrounding, as sleeping on an inch of broken foam seemed so diverse from the standards of sleeping on big, chunky beds. However, it was comfortable, what with lovely Sangha around me and my guru looking over me. I slept. Nothing was a concern to me. I didn't need anything else. It was like being locked in a room that held me, not in bondage, but in a room where I could sleep near to the Guru Granth Sahib. The room was quite full, with only a little light in the background, and I could hear older Singhs speaking gently in Punjabi, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying. It was like being in another country. It almost was another country. But the reassuring, calm tone of those who represent generations of Sikhs, generations of our ancestors, helped me to sleep. Without speaking any English to them, I knew I was in good company. But if I put the light on in the middle of the night to go to the loo, I didn't speak English, but I knew they didn't like that. Because they let me know, they said something to me in Punjabi and I knew I shouldn't have put the light on. But apart from that, I didn't understand what they were saying. But it sounded good, it sounded reassuring. Well, in the morning I got up at 2:30 AM, had a good hot ishnan, and I began listening to the Panchbani booming through the microphone. I must confess, I went back to sleep, but I listened in the background. At about 4:30 AM I got up and listened to the Bani on my phone using YouTube. And apparently, the best religious people use Apple phones. Yeah. So people spoke words of encouragement to me in the morning, and then after Sunday Punjabi class, everyone quickly left the divan apart from those taking Amrit. This was it, and it was about to happen. I didn't believe it was going to happen, but it was about to happen. Would it be formal? Would the Panch Pyare accept me? What if they say, no, you may not take Amrit today? What would I do then? Would I still carry on? Would they say my Punjabi isn't perfect? would they say to me, you're not doing everything correctly, you can't take Amrit today? The Panch Pyare came out of the Sachkhand, and at Nanak, there's a big Sachkhand where Guruji resides all the time. So they came out of the Sachkhand, and Uncle Ji Bahadur Singh held a large kirpan, and he gave a talk wearing sunglasses. He had especially come to perform the ceremony because he was one of the few people that could speak good English. He was recovering from an eye operation, which is why he had his sunglasses on. After a discourse, he said I could come forward. I was the first. What surprised me was that the ceremony was rather about what I did, rather than what was done to me. Water, Amrit, was poured into my hands. I then drank it 5 times, and it tasted sweeter than anything I'd ever tasted in my life, even sweeter than jalebis, which really are the sweetest thing I've ever tasted in my life. The final part was very emotional. The Panch Pyare gave me the bowl and said, you may drink from it. I did so, with sticky, sugary water all over my ginger beard. I drank it all, and I couldn't get enough of it. I'd done it. It was only at that moment I believed it was going to happen. It had happened. It was past tense. That was it. And I knew then that I was a Sikh. All of the long stares and comments were worth it. They became ephemeral, and nobody could ever dare say I was not a Sikh again. But above all this is the fact that I have found some peace. I have begun a path to find God the Creator, meeting the Guru. And my emotions were those of shock, joy, peace, blessing, gratitude and love. That night I was talking amongst Sangat, and we were laughing so much. The Guru gave me so much joy, and I could feel the happiness that the Amrit had created. It was like having a drug. But you know, Amrit does not harm us, it heals us and produces joy, not split-second highs induced by narcotics of alcohol. So I'd like to show you some benefits of becoming a Sikh. Financial, health benefits, spiritual benefits. There are many health benefits to becoming a Sikh, and Gillette is definitely not the best a man can get, I can tell you, which will be shown in the next slide. This was taken at a mosque. It says, smoking is haram, don't bring your filth here. We believe in exactly the same thing as Sikhs, we don't agree with smoking. Applies to all places of worship. Smoking is not good. And then the next slide, cigarettes, not good for your health. Alcohol, drugs, and things that can lead to certain diseases and complications are not good for us either. But I save them up money. Do you know? Razors, hairdressers. I buy 1 bottle of Fixo about 2 months. That's the only thing I spend on my hair, really, apart from a new conga occasionally. There are many health benefits to becoming a Sikh. Gillette is definitely not the best a man can get. The day of taking Amrit was very special. And all of these things have led me here. Being vegetarian, I was vegetarian for 10 years. Occasionally I used to eat fish, but I knocked that on the head as well before taking Amrit. And one of my favourite things is paneer. And I very much love the food. But yeah, being vegetarian was a really good thing. And I stick to that. I'm very happy with that. It's one of the very sensible, universal things you can do. Sikhs are vegetarian, Hindus, Buddhists, monks, many people are vegetarian. It's a very good thing. So I want to go on to discuss the casteism, which is not something I'll dwell on, it's just something I want to briefly mention. Okay, that's cool. Leave it there just for one moment. I'd briefly like to mention the subject of caste within the British Punjabi culture. It does exist among Sikh people, but it is not part of Sikhi. The C word, caste, pre-exists the Guru's time. It is not part of our religion. Sadly, casteism is endemic among Sikhs in the UK today. The very existence of Caste Watch UK is a testimony to this. The Rahat Mariada's position in relation to caste is clear. A Sikh should have no belief in caste. The teachings of our scriptures have the following to say about caste. Should be able to see part of the Japji Sahib. Okay, just hold that there. God has no quote, mark, colour, lineage, or caste. I salute God who has no caste. God is not called by any particular name. He has got no caste, no outlines, colour, or mark. No one can describe God who has no colour, caste, or lineage. He has neither any caste nor any dynasty. God does not have any special love for any particular tribe or caste. Before I became a Sikh, many people told me that they were Jat caste and that this was a very high caste in India. They did not, however, tell me the Jats are farmers. I admire the farmers who worked hard in agricultural industry generations in India a long time ago and still do today. Yes, be proud of hard-working men and women of India who worked on the land. Be proud of your heritage and the toil of your ancestors. They worked very hard. But abandon any form of casteism. Reject the caste system. Reject the concept of Sikhi as Sikh identity. Have you seen that clip on Goodness Gracious Me? Just hold it there with slides. And someone says, I'm a Sikh, I'm a man. What does it mean to be a Sikh? And the parents say, oh well, you're a man, you wear a turban, you're a Sikh man. This is not just a form of ethnicity. It's part of a religion. It's a lot deeper. So when we see those registration number plates, can we just see those again? Can we see those registration plates? Yeah. What's all this about? You could put one God, you could put peace, you can put whatever you like, but don't put caste designation. It's completely nothing to do with Sikhi whatsoever. Does it really mean anything? Maybe it does to some, but not to Sikhi. I typed in Sikh followed by the letters C, A, S, and immediately I was confronted by a list of 9 searchable categories, each relating to the Sikh caste system. One professor says the following. She says, unfortunately, caste is still so deeply embedded in the Indian psyche that it never had and still has not been eliminated from the path. A personalised number plate bearing the caste type is surely a triviality and also an expensive means of display that is superfluous and unnecessary. Some of these plates weren't expensive because they're illegal. They're not even legally registered and you get in trouble with the police for doing it. Being a rude boy isn't really anything to be proud of. I'm sorry to say, a 12-year-old girl in front of me asked Dr. Gyani, what caste does he belong to as a Gurdwara? And the Gyani reassuringly replied, Giaanroop Singh is a caste. Where did this young girl get the concept of caste from? Was she born with the concept? The answer is no, she was certainly not born with the concept. She had been taught it by others. As an outsider, people should not have explained to me that the caste system was an integral part of what it means to be a Sikh. But we are all learners, and that is what Sikh means. So forgive me if this sounds harsh or judgmental. This is really all I want to say on the subject of caste, but I feel it needed to be said as an outsider. My message to young Sikhs, and there's a slide that has this message. Do take Amrit if you feel drawn to do so. Don't let anyone pressurise you. Do take it seriously. Don't rush. Don't build it up to be so great that you can't reach it. You can if you want to. Don't be put off by those who don't understand. Don't discourage a friend from taking Amrit or from practising Sikhi, even if you don't practice Sikhi yourself. Please welcome people of other faiths in the Gurdwara, and welcome strangers with love and generosity. Ditch the caste system within Sikhi, and learn to speak Punjabi. Why? Because it's part of your heritage and your religion and your culture. If you learn to read it, you can do part. And if you learn to speak it, you can meet the most amazing people. I only know a tiny bit of Punjabi. If I could speak Punjabi, I could go to India, and I could go to Manchester, and I could go to Scotland, and I could meet Amrit, and I can have good conversations with them. It can help you get a good job. It's a wonderful gift that many people in England, many Gurdwara, they don't think it's important. But learning Punjabi is wonderful. I work with people as a volunteer in an Asian day centre. I don't think they're Amrit, the girls that wear a Katha, they wear the suits. But all day they're helping elderly people in the day centre, and they can only really do that effectively by speaking Punjabi. And I'm really proud of them. They're not Amrit, but you know, they're proud of their culture, and their whole working day, 37 hours a week, is dedicated to helping elderly people. I can only speak a bit of Punjabi, but just the fact that I can ask if a lady wants a cup of tea or coffee is wonderful, because that means I can communicate with them. Based on personal experience, I'd like to encourage you to think about this path. I'm not telling everyone they should become a Sikh. I'm not telling everyone they should take Amrit. That's your journey. This is personal. I certainly wouldn't say don't take Amrit. It's a good thing. If you want to be free from attachment, if you want to strive for peace, and if you want to be free, be liberated today and worship the wondrous Creator. Peace of mind, peace of God, why? I've got a few more slides to just look. The one previously. No? Okay, previously? Okay. If you're ever discriminated against in the workplace because of your caste, or ethnicity, religion, and I say this to the youngsters, every police force in the country has a hate crimes unit. Yours is the West Yorkshire Police. You can also go to Caste Watch UK. I was told in one care home, I can't wear the kippah. I went to Caste Watch UK. They sent an email to the agency. They packed that in straight away, and suddenly it was, yes, you can wear your kippah. No problem. We've had a statement from the council. No problem. And that was the end of it, because of people like this. So young people, if you have any problems, you must tell your parents and your teachers. You must get it dealt with. You might not need to go to these lengths, but they are there if need be. So if we can move on then. Okay, next one. Next one. These are just some little thoughts of mine. Your mala is your best friend. Treat it right and use it. I can't do Gurdwara, I can't read Gurdwara yet, but I can listen to part and I have got my mala. That can be a really useful, simple thing that anyone can do. I can say, why Guru? Next. Oh yeah, I mentioned that, and if anyone wants to see that slide later, next slide, you can look it up on United Sikhs. And if you go to the next slide, that's my story of what happened. Okay, can move on from that. Universal Sikhi. I am not saying I am a 3HO person, or a Ramgarya, or a Singh Saba, or a whatever, but 3HO are doing some really good things in bringing people into Sikhi through Yogi Bhajan. So if we go on to the next slide. Is the 21st century renewal of religious fervour, 20th century Fox, media, versus 21st century share, people becoming Sikhs? Next slide. The future's bright, and the future's orange. Next slide. So this man here, what have we got to say to him? He thinks we're strange people, we wear turbans. People believing in God, heaven forbid. People like him need to listen to our voice, need to know we're here to stay, and more people are becoming religious. Go on to the next slide. The future's bright, and the future's orange. Go on to the next slide. No, skip that. Harvinder Kaur Khalsa, you may have heard of her, I've heard she's been here. Would you like to see a photo of her, maybe? Let's have a look. She was a model. She admits herself she got thrown out of nightclubs for being drunk. She was Prime Minister's, an MP's daughter, caused him a lot of embarrassment. Now look at her there, a member of the Khalsa Panth. And this was originally just through exploring an interest in yoga. She's ended up on this path. So maybe have another slide. Many white people are in search of religion and they can't find it. Some people are becoming Sikhs, Muslims, some are joining the church as priests. They're doing all sorts of things. It takes guts to wear a turban. It takes guts for the ladies and for the men. It takes guts for all of us. But it can be done. Being part of a group can be a wonderful unifying feeling. Here we go. The caste system is disappearing, I hope. We've seen pictures like this. He is a Nihang, and he's married her. Another picture. The first Gurdwara Pradhan, female Pradhan in the UK. Female Pradhan. Bole Saniha. First female Pradhan. So dear. Lovely. Next one. My friend Amrit and Gurdwara, she's French. She's found Sikhi, I think she's through going to Newcastle Gurdwara, and she married Manpreet. And they're very happy. They love each other to bits. They're both Amrit Dharis of different ethnicities. Next slide. Unfortunately, some people perceive us as terrorists, and as a white person, they say, you can't be a Sikh, you have to be born into that. Oh no, you must be a Muslim. Not all Muslims are radical. Unfortunately, though, we get associated with Islam in the negative way. If you look at the next slide. If I wear a white pog as a white guy, and I've got a beard, that makes me bin Laden to some young people. I just want to mention that. You need to explain to people that we're not Muslims, and even if we were, that non-Muslims are extremists, many of them are very good people. So we need to actually challenge both of those issues. But we're Sikhs. This beautiful group that we've been given is not that religion, it is Sikh religion. It is hopefully a religion always of peace. The next slide, after that. Next slide. Next slide. And I think that's the end. Is that the end? Is that the end, folks? Yeah, I think that's the end. So these are just some thoughts and feelings and explanations about my journey to Sikhi and what it's like now. Oh yes, Sikhi means learn. Sikhi means be a student. Get some good books. Look on the internet, some wonderful books out there. And learn your Punjabi on the next slide. Learn your Punjabi, because then you can do part. You can get a good job by assisting the Sikh or Asian community. If you speak Punjabi, you can communicate with Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus. People at the moment I can't fully communicate with without learning Punjabi. You can. You can help the community. You can meet amazing people in India, Canada, England, wherever you want. And you can assist the elderly, which is a very good seva for you to do. If you're at a chemist or the doctor's and an elderly lady, Asian lady, has a problem she can't understand, you can go up and help her. I hope that young people here will take that on board and that they will learn Punjabi. Learning any of the Asian languages is really useful. Look at the way England's changing. Look at Bradford. You know, it might really help you to get a job if you know Punjabi, as well as the spiritual benefits. So I hope you've enjoyed this talk. I know I've gone over a lot of subjects, but this is just a little insight into my journey. And I hope that whatever path you take, if it's a religious one, that you'll be blessed by it. If you're Amrit Dhari or not, if you drink and you smoke, whatever. If you have a drink on Saturday night but you're sober on Monday morning, you can come to the Gurdwara. You can be blessed by Maharaj. As long as you're not intoxicated, you can come here. So even if you do things in life that are not right, you're still not going to be turned away by Maharaj. It may take a long time to get there. You're not going to be turned away. You're welcome here. Anyone's welcome here. They can receive the darshan of Satguru Maharaj Ji. So my message is, Amrit is one path. Take it if you want to. But still, if you want to come to the Gurdwara, if your friends want to come to the Gurdwara, maybe your friends want to come to the Gurdwara just one-off, and that might lead to taking Amrit. Or they might just go there once and something happens, or they receive a darshan or a healing. So from my point of view, I would just encourage anyone to welcome people. If you're at work, invite someone to a wedding, to bring them to the Gurdwara and educate them. My dad now has got a lot of time and respect for the Sikh community, because he's been invited to weddings and he's received lots of hospitality. So now when he sees us sing, he thinks, yeah, that's great. You know, my dad said he doesn't understand the turban. He thinks you don't have to wear a turban. He doesn't understand. But he's got respect for the turban. He's got respect for Sikhi. That's because people have invited him and talked to him. He's come in the car and spoken outside the Gurdwara to Gyanis people. Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed that talk. I hope I haven't gone on too long. Feel free to ask some questions at the end if you want to afterwards. And thank you so much for inviting me here. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Sri Waheguru Ji